get number 99. I remember there was a time no one wanted to take
Yeah.
Sanat Jayasuriya's number 7 in the Sri Lanka team jersey because
Yeah.
you never know with Sanat, he might make a comeback, so no one wanted to take the number. Welcome to Sri Lankan Cricket Podcast with Vida and Bora. This episode is sponsored by 4Pillars Gin. We haven't recorded an episode for nearly a month. Bora, how have you been?
Yeah, good. Cricket season done and dusted. Was good to have a bit of time off. Had a bit of work commitments going, so wasn't able to, I think, get ahead and do some recording. But good to be back to discuss more on our thoughts and views on cricket.
Yeah, and you had a bit of a COVID episode. How did you cope with that?
Yeah, I was in isolation, not the best, but got through it. Not one of those good feelings, getting caught in the mix of it, but got through it.
Yeah, it's become normal now, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Bit of isolation, workouts and stuff like that. But yeah, it's good to get it over, that's for sure.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we get into the episode, we want to remind you about the competition we are running on our social media with 4Pillars Gin. You have a chance to win a bottle of 4Pillars Gin. All you have to do is find the post in our social media. You will find it top of our social media feeds and like the post. Give us a follow, give a follow to 4Pillars and tag one of your friends in the post and we'll announce a winner on 15th of May. Lots of things been happening in Sri Lanka since our last episode and one reason we didn't do episode was we didn't really feel like doing episode with all that chaos happening in Sri Lanka. Cricket is the last thing they are worrying about at the moment. I've been on the phone since the first lockdown, Bora. I've been checking what's happening in Sri Lanka all the time and checking what's going on. It has been a tough couple of weeks and we are still waiting to see what's going to happen next. I'm sure you are in the same boat with me, Bora.
Yeah, likewise. I think we are following what's happening out there. From I guess all Sri Lankans, I guess the wish is to get things turned around really quickly so that hopefully we can go back to the normal life that we've had. I mean, a lot of chaos back home, a bit of mismanagement and making the wrong decisions, I guess, has put us in a bad spot. We in the past we talked about Sri Lanka cricket being struggling with what's been going on in a larger scale. Our whole country in Sri Lanka is struggling with some poor decisions that has been taken. So likewise, always following what's happening because we have a lot of loved ones, family back in Sri Lanka, and we're hoping for the best for everyone involved. As an outcome, I think it was the right decision by us as well, just to not having the mindset, I think, to record and put through some episodes. So we feel, but I think you and I both had that conversation. Life has to move on. We've got to, if we can, reach out and make a change, even through the podcast. I think that's the approach we want to take, and it's one of the reasons that we kicked off the program from this week or this episode onwards. Always a possibility if through our networks, if we can get more support to Sri Lanka. That's pretty much the idea that we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we feel helpless from here, and we can see lots of people are joining the protests and doing what they can. I mean, we are with you, and we feel your pain, we feel your struggle, but we are in a big mess. We are hoping to see some kind of a solution soon, and hopefully we'll get out of these troubled waters soon, and as you said, like get back to some sort of normalcy pretty soon. In the cricket world, lots been happening for the last few weeks. We talked about Sri Lanka not having a coach, not appointing a coach for nearly 6 months, but I can't even remember now. I lost count. And finally we have a head coach, and we have a assistant coach. Like this, like a list of appointments
Yeah, we got a coach in group or a team appointed.
Yeah, so we
A
got a
head
few
coach.
now. So let's start with our
Yeah.
head coach, Bora.
Yeah.
Chris Silverwood. I was surprised that he agreed to coach Sri Lanka, but yeah, his record in county cricket coaching Essex was good, and but his record for England, well, they kicked him out of the England job, and we ended up with him. So what do you reckon? Is it our gain, or what do you reckon, Bora?
Yeah, I'll take it on a positive. I'll take it. It's hopefully a gain for Sri Lanka and a loss for England. I mean, he had a lot going on with the England setup because there was a change within their structure of selections to how the teams manage, where it came upon one person being the chief selector and the player coach or whatnot. So the selection was in the hands of Chris Silverwood and Joe Root. And they struggled. They had a good win in Sri Lanka, but apart from that, I think things
Mm.
weren't the best. So, and they had a review. The reviews generally, when you lose an Ashes, top head tends to roll, and then Chris Silver was feeling the pinch. So he was out of a job. I think Sri Lanka was smart. They would have reached out to him. That was a good play from whoever was making the decisions to, I know, be approaching someone of that caliber, because coaching an England setup, I know you would have gained some sort of experience. You would have learned something out of, in a high performance environment. And from the candidates that Sri Lanka had, Chris Silver would, I mean, he'd just walk in easily because, control environments. He knows what is needed. Just the track record hasn't been the best because in England, so he's got that to fix with the Sri Lankan unit that he'll be in charge of. So that's how I see it. Got to take a bit of a positive. Coming back into that single role of having, the coach control in selections to whatnot. That was, I think, one change that was wanted by Chandika Hathurusinghe when he was the Sri Lankan coach at the time. But I don't think the cricket board in Sri Lanka approved that request. Now, when you look back, not a bad thing that they held back, because the workload was too much for Chris Silverwood to manage. I mean, he was I mean, the English team was traveling around, and you remember when the guys came here for the Ashes series, Australia hadn't played much Test cricket,
No.
whereas England had been traveling so much. So whilst doing that, for Chris Silverwood to have an idea of who are the county players or who's coming through the ranks, he
Mm.
wouldn't have any idea on that. So a new chapter for Chris Silverwood. And generally he'll settle in. I think he'll bring about his approach, but like you touch base about his county experience might not be a bad thing, because in Sri Lanka we kind of come through development stages, and with our local cricket setup with the club structure, he might have an input that will help the setup out there as well.
Yeah. No, you're right. He's joining Sri Lanka for 2 years. That's his contract. Yeah, and he's supported by the appointment of Navid Nawaz as the assistant coach. And at one stage, Navid Nawaz was tipped to take the coaching job as well. Then and so he ended up being the assistant coach to Chris Silverwood. And I have played a bit of cricket with Navid Nawaz, and he was the coach for one of my club teams back home as well for a year or so. I think did you play under
Yeah.
him at SSC, or he was the coach, wasn't
No,
it?
not really. I played under him under provincial tournament.
Ah, yes,
So he was
yes.
in charge of a provincial team, but I've
Hmm.
always had a lot of interactions through the Sri Lankan setup whilst on the different squads that we were part of.
Hmm.
Um, Came across, he's a calm character, comes across a approachable person. So as a player number one, you feel you can always approach him and reach out. He has all those qualities that, man management. We talk here
Yeah.
about people wanting someone to speak to, mentor.
Yeah.
Um, so I've always felt comfortable as him as a coach. I've always like feel anytime you can reach out and have a discussion about cricket with him, I think,
Mm.
which is a strong quality that should help the players involved.
Mm.
Um, his appointment, I'm slightly surprised that it came through. Number
Yeah.
one, 'cause, he did apply for the top job. He applied for the top job, and not getting looked into it. I kind of felt okay. He probably won't come back at assistant role, but I think sometimes in where this is where it's a bit of criticism from the Sri Lankan setup is we tend to pick or want candidates who are proven, who we expect like a real high demand in terms
Mm.
of they would have. I mean, reviewing Navid Nawaz said hasn't coached the international team before. What are the credentials? Those are the ones they would have questioned, I feel. But having said that, on the flip side, they might have, had a small dangling carrot as well to say, look, um, come into a high performance environment, prove get that experience that is needed under a shadow coach. And if there's a review and if there's possibility, you never know, the top
Mm.
job might be there for them. And when you think about the history, if you go back into the history of Sri Lanka cricket's assistant coaches turning to be the head coach,
Yeah.
have a fair few guys who landed that gig from
Yeah.
Nick Kothas, Trevor Penny, Paul Fabre. So
Alvarez. Yeah.
lots of candidates Navid Nawaz can look back and say, hang on, they've gone on to be head coaches, and that might be an avenue I might take on.
Even
So
Hatu. Chandika Hatu.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So not a bad thing. So when you think about it, I guess just the initial not getting the job and then coming back, that's gonna slightly have a small, it's gonna leave a small mark at some stage where you start thinking, hang on, is this the one? Hopefully that'll iron out and it'll work out to what is needed. Because I think in the Sri Lankan setup, Navid Nawaz has a good following, good respect
Yeah.
into his role as a coach. So I don't think it'll be a problem where he will struggle to command or have the respect from the players. That will be always there because most of the players who are in the setup now would have had an approach or would have been as a player under his wing at under 19 level
Under
or at
19s.
club
Yep.
level. So that respect would be definitely
Yeah.
there.
He has done hard yards.
Yeah.
He was a fantastic player who didn't really get a go in international cricket because he had to, break into a side where you had fantastic set of batsmen, and even I think the chance he got to play a test match, and I think he averages 40. He only batted twice,
I
and
think it was against Bangladesh or one of
Bangladesh, yes,
Zimbabwe. Back in the
yeah,
time when we play Test cricket against them, most of our batsmen retire out. They don't retire, get
yeah,
retired. They get retired out.
yeah.
So it was a
funny
very
how
tough.
things have Funny how things have changed over the years. But like
Yeah,
he soon after retiring from cricket, he started coaching, and he
yeah,
was, he's not new to this job, and he's done hard yards, and he has
yeah,
proven he has a good track record. He's won championships in domestic cricket and under 19 cricket. So
yeah.
I mean, this is I think this is a stepping stone for him to go to the next level and be a national coach, and I'm sure he'll do well.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. The
yeah,
next appointments, I think, are pretty standard appointments who generally lead the bowling setups, like the fast bowling and the spin bowling.
yeah,
PL Vijay and Chamin Nawaz. They've been over numerous times been, holding those positions in and working through the players.
yeah,
So Looks like a standard contract that has been rolled over.
Mhm.
Manoj Jabe Vikrama, the fielding has been appointed into a fielding role. Again, has been a long performer or a servant of Sri Lanka cricket as a coach.
Mm.
So yeah,
And Pial Wijetunga as the spin
yeah,
coach.
as a spin coach. So the group that can work together, I think the immediate assignment is going out to Bangladesh for a
Yeah,
two-test series. I know the World Cup's here early November
yeah, yeah.
with the T20 World Cup. In terms of an ICC tournament, that'll be it. Australia probably follows Bangladesh after
In
that
June, in June, July.
on their
That's a very
Asian
important
tour.
tour.
That's going to be a big one. But now that the IPL's kicking off, maybe they'll have time with some of the players who are in Sri Lanka, and it's like a pre-season build-up, that a month's time to learn the players, go
Yeah.
through the ropes, prepare a game plan on how they want to play, and be ready for that. Because
Mm.
for Chris Silverwood, not a bad 1 month's time to prepare his squad how he wants to play and
Yeah.
move forward.
Yeah. Only person who's going to miss out is Dimut, who is in England playing county cricket for Yorkshire. So
Yeah,
he'll be back just in time for the tour.
yeah.
And
I'm sure. I'm sure they'll be having their Zoom meetings, talking about
yeah,
how they want to approach and whatnot. County experience is a good exposure for the boys.
yeah.
I think Surangal Akmal landed it.
Mm.
Dimut, few of the Pakistan players have gone out there because of the IPL being kicking off full. So
Yeah.
international players available are pretty much the Pakistanis and the Sri Lankans.
Mm.
So I think that's a good sign for us to get that
Yeah.
exposure.
Before we get into the IPL, Bora, quickly
Yep.
we'll quickly chat about what happened to our technical advisory committee. They were appointed by the former sports minister, and I think they resigned because they were appointed by the former sports minister. Remember, we
There's a
talked
lot.
about systems. We are not sticking to a system for longer. That was like what, 8 months ago, and here we are again. We're back to square one again. I mean, as we feared.
Yeah, another set will come and say we need to change how we do it, and okay, from square one they start a new change, and after 2 year or years time there'll be another crew. So bit of musical chairs, but I guess where they're coming from is, I mean, there is a bit of turmoil at the where Sri Lanka is pushing for change. The technical committee would have tendered in their resignation, wanting
Yeah.
in, on the larger scale of things. Chris Silverwood might be a bit nervous because I'm sure he would have been signed in by this technical committee,
Mhm.
having a bit of insight into that contract. So a bit of uncertainty, but yeah, you never know. The sport should. I don't know. It's still uncertain because I'm not sure even who the sports minister is. So before a
No.
month's time, I don't know. Because normally the sports minister has to sign off on an international team that we put on for a tour or a tournament or a match. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for the time being, a bit of loose ends out there in Sri Lanka.
Yeah. No, it's as we said before, like cricket and sports are the last thing they worry about at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into IPL. Cora, I mean, the whole
Yep.
world has stopped playing international cricket because of IPL for nearly 2 months, and
Yep.
Mumbai struggling with 8 losses in a row. I think they're out of the tournament now. But the two new teams, Lucknow and Gujarat, they're doing really well. And few Sri Lankans playing, especially Dushmanta, Wanindu, and Deekshana, they're doing really well. And last night, Banuka got back into the team, I was surprised because he couldn't get into that team. Yeah, he had a good innings yesterday, and I'm sure he will play for the rest of the tournament. Things are getting heated up now.
Yeah, that's funny, Oscar, when you said Mumbai hasn't won anything. Just I saw online a picture of they were comparing the teams where they are in the the trophy race. So you had the front runners, the Lucknow Super Giants in Ferrari. So it's a race,
Yeah, I
Ferraris,
saw that.
Marutis, and Rohit Sharma sitting on a bus stand with his hand to his head. He's going nowhere. Like so, uh, not ideal. Um, Mahela is probably feeling the sting of it as well. But Mumbai Indians, they had a shocking auction. I think that's mainly up to the auction how they went about it.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, they spent money on Archer, Jofra Archer, when he's not even playing this year. So
yeah,
if I don't get it. You want to spend money on the current situation wherever things are happening. In a year's time, who knows what Jofra Archer will be up to, whether he might drop in
mm,
form. You never know. Fast bowler coming off injury, his pace to whatnot changes. So I think that was a poor move. So they spent a lot of money there. And they spent a lot of money on Ishan Kishan, who's they held as a
mm.
player. They released Hardik Pandya, which is
And
fair, but
Pandya, yeah,
Krunal Pandya was released. Um, they kind of dropped pretty much their strong core players now. I think Lucknow Super Giants have been the best recruiters in the auction. When you look at they have players, I mean KL Rahul, and then the Pandya, and then coming through to even Dushman Chamir in the squad. Those are pretty smart picks. And then you have I think Manish Pandey, who's I mean
yeah,
they're good players.
mm.
And when you see the dugout, when you see Gautam Gambhir, he's had success with Kolkata
With
Knight
Kinka,
Riders. So
yeah.
he's a good leader. So I think a shrewd campaigner who
Hmm.
did some work in the back at the start of the auction. So that's why they're sitting where they are. The Sri Lankan boys have been pretty good performers, that's for sure. I mean, we know the three players we talked about how what quality players they are in terms
Mm.
of their bowling skills. But I feel like Dushmant has just gone one more notch. He seems to be finding another gear to perform and
Yeah,
show how things are being done. So pretty happy for that. I guess I'd like Vanitha to be batting or showing his batting skills a bit more. He seems to have been pushed down the order, but I think it could be with the quality of batters that are in that IPL, in the RCB team. So uh, hopefully he doesn't lose his batting qualities when he comes back to Sri
yeah,
Lanka. Um, but yeah, Mahesh Tikshana is looking good. I mean,
mm.
he'll learn more. Bhanuka is pushing. He is making statements to get into that team. And now I see. I mean, Charmika yet to get a go, but hopefully he'll get a few games just to have that experience. And the under 19 boy who just joined in
Yes,
as a
Pathirana.
replacement.
Yeah,
So um, I see he's got his 99 shirt as well. So for Chennai, not that will be exciting for him. So uh,
yeah. They wonder whether he had to ask Malinga permission to get number 99. I remember there was a time no one wanted to take
yeah,
Sanat Jayasuriya's number 7 in the Sri
yeah,
Lanka team jersey because
yeah.
you never know with Sanat he might make a comeback, so no one wanted to take the number.
Yeah, exactly. I think he would have just had a chat to Lasit Maling. I'm sure the
Yeah,
boys do communicate a lot. But Chennai is a totally different franchise. 99, no one would have had it, but he would have just said, "Look, I'd like to use 99," and then Malinga would have said yes. So maybe he wouldn't have. We don't know. We'll hear more of that story. But Yeah, you're right. With Sanat, number 7, everyone was scared because was a player who made numerous comebacks at different stages of his career. So
Yeah.
yeah,
If you if you look at the table, Bora, we are
yeah,
recording this on a Tuesday, so Gujarat is leading with Sunrisers second, Rajasthan and Lucknow, RCB, and Kings 11 top six.
yeah.
So Chennai has some work to do. They won 2 games, but they might make a comeback in the last few games and make it to the playoffs. So yeah, it'll
Yeah,
be really interesting.
the groups tightly do apart from Mumbai Indians, but
Yeah.
um, like Delhi Capitals, they're a strong team. They'll come back into the group with David Warner firing for them.
Mhm.
Touching base with, RCB seems to be having one of the better years that they've had without Kohli, scoring runs.
He's got two
Um,
two golden
two,
ducks.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. So, I mean, KL Rao scored 100 after 2 first ball ducks, I think. So, next time RCB will be playing, there'll be a bit of eyes on what he does. Um, Again, I think it's again very tight to call who'll make it.
Mm.
Everyone's seem to be playing some pretty good brand of cricket. Rajasthan Royals seem to be strong in their performance as well.
Butler.
So, yeah, Butler's smacking them around.
Yeah.
So I think he scored 300s this year as well. So
Two.
is
Was
it
it
two?
three?
Yeah, lost count of it. That's how
Yeah.
many he scored.
Chahal is bowling well.
Yeah, Chahal's
He's in
bowling
the
well.
wicket.
So a few Sri Lankans in that setup with Mali and Sangakkara.
Yeah.
So they're having a good time with that camp. Sunrisers Murali's team is looking good as well, but
Yeah.
I just feel they'll drop the ball at the back end with the batting. I just have a feeling the batting's gonna let them down at a certain stage, but they'll be
Mm.
competing for that. Yeah, early signs are I'd like to be in the RCB camp
Mm.
because they've done a few changes that seems to be getting the results they want with signing Faf Duplessis as the captain. A bit of a
Yeah.
leadership change there. They do have some of the players who are now playing a couple of seasons together, so they'll be strong with Maxwell there. Vanidu's come along.
Mm.
Um, so they'll be settling in. I mean, Dinesh Karthik's having a pretty good
Oh,
season. He's playing some unbelievable knocks. So he's trying to push into the Indian camp, which I'm sure is
yeah.
not too far away. Um, and then our Sri Lankan boys in the different camps getting a good gig.
The good thing is, but apart from Charmika, everyone else is playing.
Yeah,
So, hopefully this will open up more opportunities for Sri Lankan because we have
yeah,
some good quality T20 cricketers in Sri
yeah,
Lanka. Just that we haven't had a good last couple of years playing cricket around the world, and that cost these players not getting a look because all the franchises tend to look players from Australia, New Zealand, and West Indies
yeah,
and England. So you're playing in India. These boys, they know how to play on spinning tracks and how to bowl on them. And yeah, hopefully this will open up more opportunities for few of the
yeah.
other Sri Lankan boys, especially the white ball cricketers.
Yeah, and I think it's a fair reflection of the guys' performance because we played a World Cup in Asia. Our bowling was strong. We know the guys know what they need to do to survive and take wickets. They are playing wicket taking roles into their
Mm.
franchises. All three of the bowlers. The batters, we know we had a struggling point. We didn't have a proper opener. We didn't have a middle order when in the Sri Lanka T20 camp. That's why none of our batters got picked. They need more stats to see. So, which is a right reflection of where our game's at.
Mm.
The bowlers coming back. I mean, we've got three four of our frontline bowlers
Yeah.
who are picked up in the side with Chamika included in that. So that's going to be our four bowlers that we once they come back will form an attack for us. And possibly you have your Lahiru Kumaras, and some of the like Dasun Chanaka probably will bowl a few, and the guys rotating around him with the left
Maybe
arm spinners.
maybe Matisha Patirana now. He might.
Now Matisha might
might
make a, yeah,
yeah.
you never know. He might come into the setup of the back of what he will do in the IPL. Um, but coming back, it's going to be Test cricket. Things have got to change. Dimuth has been the lone guy with the bat for us. So coming off season, generally it tends to toss up another player into the mix. So we'll find out who that player is coming through the ranks for us.
Okay. Before we wrap up, Bora, let's do one question from Will Young from Melbourne. It's asking, which Australia tour in Sri Lanka for a full tour, will there be security concerns with the current situation in Sri Lanka? That's in June, July, Bora. So
yeah,
hopefully by that time we will see some sort of a solution has been implemented. But most of these protests are happening in Colombo, and they are peaceful protests, and there's no violence or riots, nothing like that. So I think the tour will go ahead, and there won't be a problem for you to travel to Sri Lanka and watch the games if you are planning to go to Sri Lanka, isn't it, Bora?
That's a very good question. I think security concerns won't be a big issue there. It's a more of an economical crisis that Sri Lanka is in, and Sri Lanka requires a lot of funds. I mean, especially a tour happening, tour like Australia happening in Sri Lanka is really good for the economy in Sri Lanka, with more tourists going out there watching the cricket and enjoying a good time. So that's the encouragement we could give from in Sri Lanka. Generally, it tends to be peaceful protests. Yes, there is a bit of uncertainty, but I don't think it'll go to a stage where games will be cancelled, or the extreme scenarios could happen. So like Vida said, there's a couple of months to for it to settle down as well. So I think if you're planning on traveling out there, should be a good one to get it confirmed and go out there and watch some good cricket.
Okay, let's wrap it up there. Thank you for joining us today, and please give us a rating on your preferred podcast listening app, especially on Apple and Spotify, because that helps others to find this podcast.
We will add the links for our competition in the show notes, and if you check our social media, you'll find it on top of our timeline. Share away, get more likes, gives you more chance to win that lovely bottle of gin.
Yeah, tag a friend. Hopefully you can enjoy it with your friend. Once again, big shout out to our sponsor, 4 Pillars Gin, and we'll add the link to their website, and you can check out their product range as well. Until next time, let's wrap up from here.
Cheers, boys.
See you soon.